If you need to transport crude oil from the Middle East to Japan, your cargo ship will have to travel from the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. On this journey, almost every ship is required to pass through the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest and most critical maritime routes in the world. But did you know that this route is not only the lifeblood of global trade, but also a dangerous hotspot? While 25% of the world's commercial shipping passes through the Strait of Malacca, it's also where 40% of global pirate attacks occur. So, here's the question. Is there an alternative route? A shorter, safer route that avoids the risks of Malacca? This is precisely why the ambitious Kra Canal project was proposed. This canal would cut across the Kra Isthmus in Thailand, shortening the journey by 1,000 to 1,200 kilometers compared to the Malacca route. This means travel time would be reduced from 48 to 72 hours to just 20 to 30 hours, saving between 24 to 42 hours, or 1 to 2 days. Let's crunch some numbers. A large container ship consumes about 200 to 300 tons of fuel per day. If the journey is reduced by 2 days, that's a fuel saving of 400 to 600 tons. At the current fuel price, estimated at $500 to $700 per ton, that's a cost saving of $200,000 to $420,000 per trip. Clearly, this project is highly attractive, not only for the global shipping industry, but also for its potential to reshape the economy and geopolitics of Southeast Asia. But who stands to gain the most if this canal is built? Beyond the host nation, Thailand, another strong contender is Vietnam. With its prime frontage along the South China Sea, Vietnam has the potential to become the next Singapore. In this video, we'll explore how the Kra Canal could transform Southeast Asia, who the winners might be, and what challenges lie ahead for this ambitious project. The idea of the Kra Canal is not a new one. In fact, it dates back to the 17th century during the reign of King Rama I, the first monarch of the Chakri dynasty in Thailand. Initially, the project was envisioned to enhance defense capabilities and boost domestic trade. However, due to technological and resource limitations, the plan never progressed beyond the conceptual stage. By the mid-19th century, the Kra Canal resurfaced, this time catching the attention of the French. They sought to expand their strategic influence in Southeast Asia. However, the British, fearing the project would undermine the position of Singapore, a critical colony under their control, staunchly opposed it and effectively blocked its progress. Fast forward to 1973, an even bolder proposal emerged, using nuclear explosion technology to excavate the canal. This idea came from a collaboration between Thailand, the United States, Japan, and France. However, due to significant environmental and security concerns, this plan was swiftly abandoned. It wasn't until 2015, with the advent of China's Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, that the Kra Canal project was officially revived. Under this plan, the canal would span approximately 163 kilometers, linking the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Thailand. The estimated cost of $28 billion and a 10-year construction timeline would result in Asia's largest man-made canal, poised to bring monumental changes to the region. More recently, in 2023, during the APEC summit, Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin introduced a new alternative. Instead of digging a canal, Thailand would construct a land bridge to connect two deep-sea ports on either side of the country. This approach is considered more technically feasible and significantly less costly than building the canal. If the Kra Canal becomes a reality, Thailand stands to gain the most from this ambitious project. Let's begin with the clear economic benefits. With its strategic location, Thailand could become Southeast Asia's leading logistics hub, attracting maritime traffic between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. It is estimated that over 20,000 ships could use the canal annually, generating $2 to $3 billion in revenue from transit fees alone. Additionally, the canal would stimulate local economic development along its banks. Industrial zones, ports, logistics services, and tourism are expected to thrive, creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs for Thai citizens. However, A project of this magnitude also comes with numerous challenges. First is the environmental impact. Digging a canal through the Kra Isthmus would devastate natural ecosystems, severely affecting rainforests, water resources, and unique wildlife species. Some experts believe these negative effects could take decades to mitigate, if they can be reversed at all. As for funding, the initial estimated cost of $28 billion may end up significantly higher due to technical challenges, land compensation, and delays. For an economy like Thailand's, securing sufficient financing is a daunting task, even with potential support from foreign partners. Security and political risks also loom large. The canal would physically divide southern Thailand from the rest of the country, potentially exacerbating instability in the politically and religiously sensitive southern provinces. The risk of secessionist movements cannot be ruled out entirely. The Kra Canal is not just an infrastructure project. It is a strategic chess piece in the geopolitical game of Southeast Asia. With its location connecting two oceans, the canal could significantly shift the balance of power among global players. China is the first major player to express enthusiasm for this project. It's no secret that the Kra Canal fits seamlessly into Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious plan to expand China's economic and political influence worldwide. The canal would provide China with a shorter, safer route for transporting oil from the Middle East while reducing its reliance on the Malacca Strait, a choke point that the US and its allies could easily block in the event of military tensions. If the project materializes, China could not only become the primary investor, but might also dominate much of the trade passing through the canal. This raises a critical question. Will the US remain passive? Certainly not. Southeast Asia has long been a battleground for strategic competition between these two superpowers. China's growing influence in Thailand via the Kra Canal is likely to alarm the US and its regional allies. Singapore, one of America's closest partners in the region, is especially unlikely to welcome the canal's construction. Singapore's opposition is straightforward. The canal threatens its position as a maritime hub. Currently, one of the world's busiest ports, Singapore thrives thanks to its unique location at the crossroads of global shipping lanes. However, the Kra Canal, by shortening transit routes and cutting transportation time, could divert many ships away from Singapore to save costs. This would reduce revenue from logistics and port operations, potentially eroding Singapore's strategic standing in the region. Malaysia, Singapore's neighbor, also has concerns. Key ports like Port Klang and others in Malaysia would face significant competition as cargo flows shift toward the Kra Canal. As a US ally, both Singapore and Malaysia could vehemently oppose the project, leveraging diplomatic channels and economic tools to pressure Thailand. So, what challenges might Thailand face if it proceeds with the canal? On the one hand, it stands to gain substantial benefits. On the other, it risks being caught in the crossfire of competing pressures from major powers and neighboring countries. Will Thailand align more closely with China or strive to balance between the two major players? This is a complex dilemma, not only in terms of economics but also in diplomacy and politics. If the Kra Canal becomes a reality, it will create a new game in Southeast Asia's economy. Vietnam and Singapore would find themselves on opposite ends, one reaping significant benefits, the other facing the risk of losing its long-standing position. Located at the heart of the potential new shipping route via the Kra Canal, Vietnam would have a golden opportunity to transform itself into a global logistics hub. With its frontline position on the South China Sea, deep-water ports such as Kai Mep Vai, Lash Huyen, and Van Phong have the potential to become leading transshipment hubs in the region. Currently, Kai Mep Port handles about 3 million TEUs annually, just 8% of Singapore's 37 million TEUs. However, by leveraging the new route through the Kra Canal, Vietnam could attract millions of additional containers each year. A growth of just 10 million TEUs could bring in billions of USD from port service fees. Moreover, Vietnam would become more attractive in the global supply chain. In 2022, Vietnam's exports reached $371 billion, a figure that has already surpassed Malaysia's $299 billion and is closing in on Singapore's $514 billion. With a shortened maritime route and drastically reduced logistics costs, manufacturers in Vietnam would greatly benefit, paving the way for sustainable GDP growth. What about Singapore? As Southeast Asia's largest logistics hub, Singapore boasts a state-of-the-art port system, streamlined management, and extensive connectivity. Its economy heavily depends on port activities, which account for around 7% of its GDP and provide jobs for nearly 170,000 workers. However, if the Kra Canal becomes operational, Singapore's transshipment position would face severe threats. According to the World Bank, logistics account for nearly 20% of Singapore's services exports. Losing its leading role in transshipment would pose a serious challenge. Although Singapore's economy is highly dynamic and diversified, the diminished importance of its maritime sector could reduce its regional appeal. The question is, how quickly can Singapore adapt to this pressure? Vietnam replacing Singapore as a logistics hub is far from a straightforward process. Vietnam must overcome significant challenges in infrastructure, port services, and connectivity with major markets. Singapore boasts modern ports, world-class operational systems, and a comprehensive network that Vietnam would need years to replicate. China, Vietnam's longtime neighbor, may also feel uneasy if Vietnam rises significantly thanks to the Kra Canal. This growth would directly compete with China's major ports such as Shenzhen and Guangzhou. Additionally, China considers the South China Sea its backyard and would not easily allow Vietnam to claim a new central role in the region. Moreover, as previously mentioned, the Kra Canal is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Beijing could leverage its economic influence to control cargo flows through the canal, potentially forcing Vietnam to depend on its transportation network. Nevertheless, with a clear strategy and collaboration with major partners like Japan, South Korea, or the US, Vietnam's opportunity to rise remains entirely achievable. The Kra Canal, if realized, will not merely be an economic project, but a major litmus test for regional and global power dynamics. Several countries have already expressed clear positions, ranging from support to opposition. On the supporting side, China leads the charge, followed by oil-exporting countries in the Middle East, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Cambodia. On the opposing side, the United States is a key adversary, driven by concerns over Beijing's growing influence in Southeast Asia. India also has its reasons to disapprove, as the Kra Canal would bolster China's economic and strategic power in the Indian Ocean. Singapore, for reasons previously discussed, is undoubtedly the strongest opponent due to the severe disadvantages the canal poses to its maritime economy. Neighboring Malaysia is also likely to express strong objections. Thailand, situated at the center of this geopolitical chessboard, will need to carefully weigh its options to avoid becoming the focal point of international tensions. The Kra Canal, a dream unfulfilled for centuries, is not merely a monumental engineering project, but also a symbol of intertwined ambitions, interests, and tensions in the region. It holds the promise of extraordinary economic opportunities, not only for Thailand, but for the entirety of Southeast Asia. However, along with these opportunities come formidable challenges concerning environmental impact, geopolitical stability, and the balance of power in the region. The question remains, will Thailand dare to cross the threshold of safety and turn this project into reality? And if so, will the Kra Canal truly change the game, or will it merely ignite a new wave of conflicts? Looking ahead, one thing is clear. If constructed, the Kra Canal will not just be a shortcut on the maritime map, but a pathway to profound transformations for the entire region. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Kra Canal should be built, or is it merely a far-fetched project? Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to catch more engaging topics. See you in our next video.